The silent anomaly. High Counselor Zix paced across the luminescent floor of the Galactic Council's grand chamber, their crystalline form shimmering in hues of deep indigo. The chamber, a vast dome lined with star-mapped etchings of countless civilizations, had borne witness to millennia of interstellar decisions. Today, however, a peculiar unease lingered, one tied to a small, seemingly insignificant world. Earth. "Show the data again," Zix ordered, their voice resonating like wind chimes caught in a storm. The artificial intelligence embedded within the Council's infrastructure obeyed, projecting a holographic timeline of human technological progress. Earth, for centuries, had been cataloged as a minor world. Its early history was marred by conflict, division, and primitive attempts at survival. Yet, over the past 3 centuries, something had shifted, a silent anomaly that defied explanation. The time-lapse displayed humanity's technological development, revealing an unprecedented pattern. Unlike other species, whose advancements followed predictable arcs of growth spurred by conflict or necessity, humanity's progress was harmonious and multidimensional. Zix tilted their crystalline head, their thoughts mirroring the Council's growing concern. Quantum computing, nanotechnology, genetic engineering. How does a species so young balance such rapid advancements without destabilizing their social structures? Observer Rhinal, a being with tendrils that flickered like living plasma, replied, "Perhaps their primitive history has tempered their instincts, yet their military remains surprisingly underwhelming. It's as though they deliberately avoid aggression, which is unusual." A tense silence filled the chamber. For 3 millennia, the Galactic Council had maintained a fragile peace among its member species, but peace, as history often warned, was fragile. Humanity's unorthodox trajectory posed a question the Council had never faced. Could a species evolve past war? "Contact Ambassador Lyrex on Earth," Zix finally commanded. "I want answers." Moments later, a shimmering hologram of Lyrex, the Council's chief diplomat stationed on Earth, materialized. His silver-scaled skin reflected the room's dim light as he bowed respectfully. "High Counselor, how may I serve?" Zix's form pulsed with iridescence, a sign of urgency. "Your recent report describes humans as peaceful, cooperative, and adaptable. Yet their technological patterns are unlike anything we've seen. How do they explain this?" Lyrex's gaze grew contemplative. "High Counselor, the humans often describe their progress as driven by hope. They lack a centralized plan, yet their efforts align with a curious consistency. They innovate not to dominate, but to connect, heal, and understand." Reynolds scoffed, their plasma tendrils crackling. "Hope, a nebulous concept unfit for galactic survival. Progress requires strategy, not sentiment." Lyrex hesitated, then spoke cautiously. "Perhaps that is why they intrigue us. Humanity seems to thrive on contradiction. Their history is violent, yet they now shun war. They are fragile, yet they endure. They build as if for eternity, despite their finite lifespans." Zix interjected, their tone sharp. "Enough abstractions. Have they displayed any interest in weaponizing their technology? Their lack of advanced military systems is suspicious." Lyrex shook his head. "None that we can detect. However, there is something peculiar. While humans lack traditional warships or energy-based weapons, they excel in adaptive engineering. Their ships, though primitive by our standards, are built for versatility. They repurpose, innovate, and improvise at an astonishing rate." Rhinal's tendrils dimmed slightly, a rare sign of unease. "Adaptation is a dangerous strength. If provoked, they could become a threat." Zix considered this carefully. For centuries, the Council had monitored young species, ensuring none disrupted the delicate balance of the galaxy. Humanity's peaceful demeanor was reassuring, but their potential for rapid growth was unsettling. It was as if they were preparing for something, a challenge only they could foresee. "Ambassador," Zix said finally, "continue your observations. We must understand their intentions before deciding our next course of action." Peace must prevail, but not at the cost of vigilance. Lyrex bowed again. As you wish, High Counselor. As the hologram faded, Zix turned to Renal. We must tread carefully. Humanity is a puzzle, one that could redefine everything we know about evolution and survival. Renal's plasma tendrils flickered ominously, or they could be our undoing. A mysterious broadcast. Unbeknownst to the Council, far from their observation chambers, humanity was about to face its greatest test. On Earth's surface, deep within an unassuming research facility, a team of scientists gathered around a console emitting an alien signal. The broadcast, decoded after weeks of relentless effort, revealed a startling message. Attention, inhabitants of Earth, we are the Azarens. For 3,000 cycles, we have honored the Galactic Accord. But no peace lasts forever. Prepare yourselves. Dr. Elena Morales, the lead scientist, felt her blood run cold. The Azarens, an enigmatic species that had vanished into legend, were rumored to possess unimaginable power. Their reappearance shattered the delicate peace humanity had known. What does this mean? Whispered one of the younger scientists. Are they declaring war? Elena's jaw tightened as she stared at the screen. I don't know. But if the legends are true, the Azarens could end us before we even understand what's happening. Yet, as fear rippled through the room, a flicker of determination sparked in Elena's eyes. Humanity had survived countless trials. They had rebuilt after disasters, thrived despite impossible odds, and forged unity in the face of chaos. Alert the United Earth Council, Elena ordered. If they think we'll roll over, they don't know what it means to be human. Unseen preparations. As Earth's leaders convened in emergency sessions, humanity's brightest minds mobilized. They didn't have warships or energy cannons, but they had ingenuity. Engineers reconfigured space probes into makeshift defense systems. Biologists developed adaptive technologies using Earth's unique ecosystems. And coders worked tirelessly to create algorithms capable of predicting the Azarens' movements. Elena's team spearheaded the effort, pooling knowledge from every corner of the globe. What they lacked in resources, they made up for in creativity. Every challenge became an opportunity, every limitation a catalyst for innovation. And while the Azarens loomed as an existential threat, humanity's response would prove one undeniable truth. When pushed to the brink, humans didn't just survive. They thrived. The Azaren threat. The message from the Azarens rippled through the Galactic Council like a shockwave. The council chamber was a storm of colors, sounds, and vibrations as representatives from hundreds of species argued over the meaning of the Azarens' return. Known as one of the galaxy's oldest and most enigmatic civilizations, the Azarens had vanished millennia ago, leaving only cryptic warnings behind. Their sudden reemergence was more than alarming. It was unprecedented. High Counselor Zix raised a crystalline limb, their form glowing with a commanding light. Order. This chamber will not descend into chaos. The council stilled as Zix's voice echoed, but the tension remained palpable. We do not yet understand their intentions. We must gather intelligence before determining how to proceed. Renal, the observer, flickered with agitation. High Counselor, the Azarens have never issued a warning without action. If they are targeting Earth, we must assume humanity will either perish or retaliate, and either outcome could destabilize the region. Zix paused, their thoughts racing. Humanity's rapid technological growth had already placed them on the Council's radar. If they survived an encounter with the Azarens, or worse, managed to defeat them, it could disrupt the fragile balance of power in the galaxy. Summon the Watchers, Zix finally commanded. Deploy them to Earth to monitor the situation. We cannot intervene directly, but we must prepare for all outcomes. Humanity unites. On Earth, the Azarens' message had unified humanity in a way no one thought possible. Governments, corporations, and individuals set aside their differences to prepare for the unknown. The United Earth Council, an organization typically plagued by bureaucracy, worked at lightning speed to allocate resources. Humanity was not preparing for war. They were preparing for survival. Dr. Elena Morales had become an unlikely leader in the effort. As a scientist, she had spent her career studying potential extraterrestrial threats, but nothing could have prepared her for the reality of an Azaran encounter. In a high-tech subterranean lab hidden beneath the Andes Mountains, Elena stood before a global assembly of scientists, military strategists, and engineers. "We have no choice but to assume the Azarans are coming to test us," she began, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. "What kind of test?" someone asked. Elena gestured to the holographic projection above her. A detailed analysis of the decoded Azaran message. The Azarans are known for valuing adaptability, resilience, and ingenuity. They don't conquer through brute force. They challenge civilizations to prove their worth. If we fail, they will either enslave or annihilate us. The room fell silent. Finally, a young engineer spoke up. "So, how do we prove our worth?" Elena's expression hardened. "We do what humans do best. We innovate, we adapt, and we refuse to give up." The silent sky. For weeks, Earth waited under a tense silence. The Azarans made no further contact, and their ships, if they existed, remained undetected. Humanity worked tirelessly, transforming their world into a fortress of ingenuity. Orbital satellites were retrofitted with advanced AI to act as early warning systems. Engineers developed swarm drones, small but powerful machines designed to act in coordinated clusters, mimicking the adaptability of human thought. Biologists created genetically modified crops that could grow in extreme conditions, ensuring humanity's survival even in the worst-case scenario. But not everyone believed in the mission. In the shadows, whispers of dissent grew louder. Conspiracy theorists claimed the Azaran message was a hoax designed to manipulate the masses. Extremist groups sabotaged critical projects, arguing that humanity should submit to the Azarans rather than risk annihilation. Elena found herself working around the clock, not just solving scientific challenges but addressing the human ones. "We can't let fear divide us," she told her team after another sabotage attempt. "If we stand together, we have a chance. If we fracture, we're doomed." The arrival. The first sign of the Azarans came not from the sky, but the Earth itself. Across the globe, seismic readings spiked without warning. Oceans churned violently, and strange, glowing patterns appeared on the surface of the moon. In the Andes lab, Elena and her team scrambled to make sense of the data. "It's like they're testing our planet," one of her colleagues said, measuring its response to stress. Elena's eyes widened as a realization struck her. They're not testing the planet. They're testing us. They're watching how we respond to crisis. Before she could elaborate, an alert blared through the lab. A massive object had entered Earth's orbit. It wasn't a ship in the traditional sense. It was a geometric construct, an enormous lattice of shifting energy that defied conventional physics. The world held its breath as the construct began to emit pulses of light, each one resonating like a deep, otherworldly heartbeat. Every satellite, every communication device on Earth picked up the same message. Your trial begins. The first challenge. The Azaran construct unleashed its first test with little warning. Cities around the globe experienced simultaneous blackouts, plunging billions into darkness. Emergency systems failed, and panic began to spread. In the Andes lab, Elena and her team worked furiously to stabilize their systems. "This isn't just an attack on our infrastructure," Elena said. "They're testing our ability to adapt under pressure." Her words proved true. In the hours that followed, humanity's resilience was put to the ultimate test. Communities banded together to share resources and knowledge. Engineers devised ways to generate power using makeshift solutions. Scientists developed new communication networks using old analog technologies. What the Azarans had underestimated was humanity's capacity for cooperation. The same species that had once been divided by borders, ideologies, and history now worked as one. A message from the Azarans. As the blackouts subsided, the Azaran construct emitted another pulse. This time, it projected a holographic image of an Azaran being, a towering figure of light and energy, its form constantly shifting like a living nebula. "You have passed the first trial," the being said, its voice resonating in every language on Earth. "But this is only the beginning. Prepare for what comes next." The image vanished, leaving humanity with more questions than answers. What were the Azarans testing? And what would happen if they failed? Elena stood before her team, determination etched into her features. "They think they're testing us, but they have no idea what humanity is capable of. We'll show them what it means to survive, to adapt, and to thrive." As the world prepared for the next challenge, one thing became clear. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't its technology or its ingenuity. It was its unyielding spirit. Humanity's second trial. The world barely had time to celebrate its first victory when the Azaran construct issued its next challenge. This time, it was not an attack on technology or infrastructure. It was an attack on humanity's greatest weakness: trust. The construct emitted a series of smaller crystalline objects that descended upon Earth like falling stars. These objects, soon dubbed catalysts, landed in strategic locations worldwide, embedding themselves deep in the ground. Within hours, strange phenomena began to occur. In one city, water supplies turned to vapor, leaving millions without access to clean drinking water. In another, crops withered overnight, their genetic structure altered beyond recognition. Cities in colder climates experienced sudden heat waves, while tropical regions froze under layers of ice. The chaos was amplified by misinformation. People began to speculate that the catalysts were a prelude to invasion, a form of terraforming meant to render Earth uninhabitable. Others believed the catalysts were a gift, designed to push humanity toward greater innovation. Factions formed, each with its own interpretation of the Azarans' motives, and tensions grew rapidly. The fragmentation. In Geneva, the United Earth Council convened an emergency session. What had been a unified front during the first trial was now unraveling. Representatives from every continent argued over the best course of action. "We should destroy the catalysts immediately," a military official from North America shouted. "They're a direct threat to our survival." "And risk provoking the Azarans," countered a scientist from Asia. "We don't know their purpose. If we act rashly, we could doom us all." Amid the escalating debate, Dr. Elena Morales addressed the council via hologram from her lab in the Andes. "This is exactly what the Azarans want," she said firmly. "The catalysts aren't just testing our adaptability. They're testing our ability to work together under pressure. If we allow fear and mistrust to divide us, we've already failed." Her words resonated with some but fell on deaf ears for others. Several nations began taking unilateral action, attempting to destroy the catalysts in their territories. These attacks proved disastrous. The catalysts retaliated by emitting bursts of energy that caused localized earthquakes, floods, and wildfires. Elena's fears were confirmed. The Azarans weren't just watching humanity's ingenuity, they were testing its moral and ethical cohesion. A risky solution. Determined to find answers, Elena and her team began studying the catalyst that had landed in the Atacama Desert. Unlike the others, this catalyst remained dormant, emitting no energy or causing environmental disturbances. "It's like it's waiting for something," Elena said, examining the structure. The catalyst shimmered with an iridescent glow, its surface covered in intricate patterns that seemed to shift when observed. Using advanced imaging technology, Elena discovered that the patterns were not random. They were a form of language, one that closely resembled the Azaran message humanity had decoded weeks earlier. "This isn't a weapon," she realized. "It's a communication device." Elena and her team worked tirelessly to decode the patterns. Days turned into nights, and exhaustion began to take its toll. But just as their morale started to wane, they made a breakthrough. The catalyst's patterns, when translated, revealed a single phrase: "Solve the paradox." The paradox. Elena immediately relayed her findings to the United Earth Council. The Azarans are challenging us to solve a paradox, she explained during a live broadcast watched by billions. They're testing not just our intelligence, but our ability to navigate complexity without falling apart. The message sparked a global effort. Scientists, philosophers, and thinkers from every corner of the world began working together to decipher the paradox. The phrase itself was maddeningly vague, but Elena believed it referred to humanity's dual nature, the ability to create and destroy, to unify and divide, to act selfishly and altruistically. The world's greatest minds proposed solutions, but none seemed satisfactory. Time was running out. The catalysts, dormant until now, began emitting low-frequency vibrations that caused widespread unease. People reported nightmares, headaches, and feelings of despair. Elena knew they needed to act fast. She convened a meeting with her team to brainstorm. What if the paradox isn't meant to be solved in the traditional sense? She asked. What if it's about demonstrating that we can embrace complexity without succumbing to it? A global demonstration. Inspired by Elena's insight, the United Earth Council organized a bold initiative. They called it Project Unity, a coordinated effort to show the Azarans that humanity could rise above its contradictions. Project Unity involved 3 key actions: repair and restore. Nations that had experienced environmental disasters caused by the catalysts worked together to rebuild, sharing resources and expertise. Global communication. A worldwide network was established to promote transparency and collaboration, ensuring that misinformation could not spread unchecked. Symbolic acts of unity. Cultural leaders from around the world came together to create a global message of peace, resilience, and cooperation. The culmination of Project Unity was a synchronized event broadcast to the Azaran construct. People from every nation, culture, and background participated in a massive coordinated display of solidarity. The Azarans respond. As the broadcast reached its climax, the Azaran construct emitted a blinding pulse of light. For a moment, the entire planet seemed to hold its breath. Then, a holographic image of an Azaran being appeared once more. You have demonstrated adaptability and resilience, the being said. But more importantly, you have shown that you can embrace the paradox of your existence. This trial is complete. The catalysts began to dissolve, their energy dispersing harmlessly into the atmosphere. The world erupted in celebration, but Elena remained cautious. They said this trial is complete, she reminded her team. That means there's more to come. As humanity prepared for the next challenge, one thing was certain. The trials were not just a test of survival. They were a test of what it meant to be human. The trial of empathy. Days after the catalysts dissolved, the Azaran construct hovered silently above Earth, an ominous reminder that the trials were far from over. Humanity braced itself. But this time, no strange devices fell from the sky. No environmental disasters shook the planet. Instead, a message appeared simultaneously on every screen, device, and reflective surface across the globe. It read, "Empathy is your next frontier. Prove it." The simplicity of the message was chilling. Unlike the earlier trials, this one didn't come with visible threats or technological challenges, yet it was somehow more unsettling. People speculated wildly. What did the Azarans mean by empathy? How could humanity prove it on a planetary scale? While governments and think tanks scrambled for answers, subtle changes began to manifest worldwide. The Azarans had, once again, set the stage for something extraordinary and potentially catastrophic. A planet transformed. Within 48 hours, millions of people began experiencing inexplicable phenomena. Some claimed to hear the thoughts of strangers in their minds. Others felt overwhelming emotions they couldn't identify as their own. Reports surfaced of individuals suddenly speaking languages they had never learned, connecting with others in ways that defied logic. Elena Morales, still at her research facility in the Andes, was among the first to recognize the pattern. "It's not random," she said during a live broadcast to the United Earth Council. The Azarans are amplifying our ability to connect, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. They're forcing us to experience the lives of others. The realization was as terrifying as it was profound. People who had never left their hometowns now understood the struggles of refugees fleeing war. Billionaires felt the pain of those living in poverty. Doctors experienced the fear and confusion of their patients. The boundaries between individuals began to blur. At first, the phenomenon inspired a wave of unprecedented compassion. Acts of kindness and generosity multiplied. Cities reported a sharp decline in crime, and volunteer efforts surged. Humanity seemed poised to pass this trial with flying colors. But as the days stretched into weeks, the cracks began to show. The weight of the world. Empathy, it turned out, was a double-edged sword. While many embraced the newfound connection, others were overwhelmed by the sheer weight of it. Experiencing the collective pain, anger, and sorrow of billions took a toll on mental health. Suicide rates climbed as people struggled to cope with emotions they couldn't escape. Worse still, the amplification of empathy exposed humanity's darkest secrets. The thoughts and feelings of individuals with malicious intentions became public knowledge, sparking fear and distrust. In one small town, a teacher's hidden predatory behavior was uncovered, leading to vigilant justice. In another, a business tycoon's secret corruption ignited riots. The Azarans aren't just testing our ability to feel for one another, Helena explained during a global conference. They're testing whether we can handle the truth of our interconnectedness without destroying ourselves. Her words resonated, but they offered little comfort. The world was spiraling toward chaos, and no one knew how to stop it. The empathy crisis. Desperate for answers, world leaders turned to technology to mitigate the effects of the trial. Neural dampeners were developed to block the amplified connections, offering temporary relief to those who couldn't cope. However, the devices quickly became a symbol of division. Those who used dampeners were labeled as cowards, unwilling to face the shared struggles of humanity. Conversely, those who refused them were seen as reckless idealists. The debate over dampeners deepened existing societal divides, threatening to derail any progress made during the trial. Amid the growing tension, a new problem emerged. Some individuals began manipulating the amplified empathy for personal gain. Cult leaders, con artists, and extremist groups exploited the phenomenon to recruit followers, spreading their ideologies with unprecedented efficiency. It was clear that humanity's ability to wield empathy responsibly was being tested, and the world was failing. Elena's gamble. As the crisis deepened, Elena proposed a radical solution. She believed the Azarans trial wasn't just about feeling empathy. It was about acting on it. Humanity needed to channel its collective connection into tangible, unified action. She proposed the creation of a global initiative called Project Bridge. The idea was simple but ambitious. People would pair with strangers from completely different walks of life, sharing their experiences and working together to solve real-world problems. Empathy can't just be a passive experience, Elena said during the launch of the project. It has to be a catalyst for change. The initiative faced immediate skepticism. Many doubted that people from such vastly different backgrounds could find common ground, let alone collaborate effectively. But Elena was undeterred. She recruited a diverse team of facilitators, teachers, mediators, and community leaders to guide the process. Stories of transformation. Project Bridge began small, but its impact was immediate. In a rural village in Africa, a farmer paired with a Silicon Valley engineer to design an irrigation system using recycled materials. In a war-torn region of the Middle East, a journalist and a soldier worked together to document stories of hope and resilience. Perhaps the most poignant story came from a young boy in Brazil who connected with an elderly woman in Japan. Despite the language barrier, they formed a bond through shared emotions, teaching each other about their respective cultures. Their story went viral, inspiring millions to join the project. As the movement gained momentum, the Azarans' amplified empathy became a tool for unity rather than division. People began to see the world not as fragmented nations, but as a single, interconnected organism. The Azarans' judgment. After months of struggle, humanity reached a tipping point. The amplified empathy began to fade, returning people to their normal emotional states. But the lessons of the trial lingered. One evening, the Azaran construct emitted another blinding pulse of light. The same holographic being appeared, its gaze as inscrutable as ever. You have faced the weight of collective existence and emerged with a deeper understanding of your shared humanity, it said. This trial is complete. As the construct ascended higher into the atmosphere, humanity was left to ponder what it had learned. The trials were far from over, but for the first time, the world felt truly united. The trial of collective memory. The day after the Azarans' second trial ended, the earth stood in eerie silence. For weeks, people had grown accustomed to the constant hum of amplified emotions and unfiltered thoughts. Now, the absence of that connection was almost deafening. But humanity didn't have long to rest. The Azaran construct, still a faint glimmer in the sky, sent a new wave of disruption. At first, it was subtle, vivid dreams that felt too real to be imagination. Then, entire populations began experiencing detailed, visceral memories, memories that didn't belong to them. A farmer in India woke up trembling after vividly reliving the horrors of a soldier fighting in a brutal war. A CEO in New York City gasped as she felt the crushing weight of famine and poverty through the eyes of a starving child in Somalia. But it didn't stop there. People also began experiencing collective memories, moments from history they had never lived through. A teenager in Brazil could suddenly recall the visceral fear of the Holocaust. A grandmother in Russia vividly felt the euphoria of the first moon landing, as though she were one of the astronauts. The Azarans had turned humanity's shared history into a tangible, unavoidable reality. The new trial was clear. Understand where you come from to decide where you will go. The weight of the past. As billions grappled with their newfound memories, the world teetered on the brink of chaos. Old wounds reopened as people relived the pain of slavery, colonization, and war. Nations that had long buried their darkest chapters were forced to confront them head-on. In the United States, descendants of both enslaved people and slave owners found themselves reliving the brutality of the past. Town halls and community centers became battlegrounds of grief, anger, and reckoning. In Germany, the collective trauma of the Holocaust resurfaced with a force that overwhelmed even those generations removed from the atrocities. Elena Morales, now a global leader in understanding the Azarans' trials, was quick to address the crisis. The Azarans are forcing us to confront the truth of our history, not just as individuals, but as a species, she said during an emergency broadcast. This is not punishment, it's a chance for growth, but only if we're willing to face it together. A global reckoning. As the trial unfolded, humanity began to understand the true scope of its challenge. The Azarans weren't just exposing historical pain. They were revealing forgotten triumphs, moments of unity, and acts of extraordinary courage. In South Africa, people relived the fall of apartheid and Nelson Mandela's call for reconciliation. In India, the memory of Gandhi's peaceful resistance filled millions with a renewed sense of purpose. Indigenous communities worldwide felt the strength and wisdom of their ancestors, their voices amplified in ways they had never been before. For every moment of horror, there was a moment of hope, and for every act of cruelty, there was a reminder of humanity's capacity for redemption. But the trial wasn't without its dangers. The weaponization of memory. As with the previous trials, some sought to exploit the phenomenon for personal or political gain. Extremist groups weaponized selective memories, using them to stoke division and hatred. In some regions, leaders manipulated collective trauma to justify oppressive policies or rally support for war. The Azarans had given humanity a gift, but it was also a test of responsibility. Could humanity wield its collective memory without falling victim to the same cycles of violence and oppression? Helena believed it could, but only if the world acted quickly. The dawn of the memory networks. Elena proposed a bold solution: the creation of memory networks, a global initiative to archive, share, and discuss the collective memories in a structured and constructive way. The networks would act as living libraries, where people could experience and learn from the full spectrum of human history, guided by historians, psychologists, and community leaders. The initiative faced immediate resistance. Many feared that reliving traumatic memories would only deepen divisions. Others argued that some histories were best left buried. But Elena was adamant. "The Azarans have shown us the truth of our past," she said during a speech at the United Nations. "We can't change it, but we can learn from it. If we fail to confront our history, we are doomed to repeat it." Stories of healing. The memory networks began as small local efforts but quickly grew into a global movement. In Rwanda, survivors and perpetrators of the genocide came together to share their memories, fostering understanding and reconciliation. In the United States, communities held memory summits, where people from different backgrounds could relive and discuss key moments in history. One of the most powerful stories came from Japan, where survivors of Hiroshima and Nagasaki shared their memories with young people from around the world. The experience sparked a renewed global push for nuclear disarmament, with millions rallying under the slogan, "Never Again." As the memory networks expanded, they began to shift the global narrative. People no longer saw history as a series of isolated events, but as a tapestry of interconnected experiences. The Azarans' verdict. Months after the trial began, the Azaran construct descended once more, emitting a pulse of light that illuminated the night sky. The holographic being appeared, its expression unreadable. "You have faced the truth of your existence," it said. "You have seen the pain you have caused, and the hope you have created. This trial is complete." As the construct ascended, humanity was left with a profound sense of responsibility. The trials were far from over, but the lessons of the past had given the world a renewed sense of purpose. The final trial. A new path forward. The Azarans' voice echoed across the globe once more, signaling the arrival of the final trial. But this time, there was no immediate change, no sudden shift in reality. Instead, the holographic projection of the Azarans stood silent in the sky, watching as humanity scrambled to understand what was coming next. Elena Morales, now regarded as the unofficial liaison between humanity and the Azarans, addressed the world from a live broadcast. "If the Azarans have taught us anything," she began, "it's that we are far more capable than we give ourselves credit for. But I suspect this final trial will not simply test what we know. It will test who we are." The arrival of the artifact. Days later, something extraordinary occurred. A massive object, crystalline and shimmering with an otherworldly glow, descended from the Azaran construct and landed in the Sahara Desert. Measuring over 300 feet tall and radiating an energy that seemed to calm all who approached, the artifact was immediately surrounded by researchers, scientists, and world leaders. The Azarans offered no instructions. There was only a single phrase etched into the crystalline surface: "Shape your future." It became clear that this trial was unlike any of the others. While the previous tests forced humanity to face its emotions, decisions, and past, this one demanded something more profound: the ability to envision and create a better world. The struggle for consensus. As nations debated how to approach the artifact, old rivalries flared up. Some leaders viewed it as a potential weapon, a tool to gain an upper hand in global politics. Others saw it as a chance to advance humanity's scientific understanding, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Elena called for unity. "This is not a gift for a single nation or group. It belongs to all of us. If we fail to work together, we fail the trial. And I don't believe the Azarans will offer us another chance." But cooperation was easier said than done. Weeks turned into months as disagreements stalled progress. Some factions wanted to harness the artifact's energy to solve the climate crisis. Others argued it should be used to eradicate poverty or accelerate space exploration. Meanwhile, the Azarans watched silently. The artifact's secret. Frustrated by the lack of progress, a group of independent researchers, scientists, philosophers, and artists began studying the artifact outside the constraints of government oversight. They noticed something remarkable. The artifact seemed to respond to human intention. When approached with hope or compassion, it emitted a soft, warm light, but when approached with greed or anger, it grew dim and unresponsive. The artifact wasn't just a tool, it was a mirror reflecting humanity's collective mindset. To unlock its full potential, humanity would need to align its vision and work together. Alina used this discovery to rally the world. The artifact isn't just testing our ability to innovate, it's testing our ability to collaborate. The future it creates will depend entirely on the values we bring to it. A new global alliance. Under Alina's leadership, a coalition called the Humanity Alliance was formed, bringing together representatives from every nation, culture, and discipline. Scientists worked alongside poets, engineers collaborated with indigenous leaders, and activists partnered with policymakers. The alliance focused on three core pillars. Unity through diversity, ensuring that all voices, especially those historically marginalized, were included in shaping the future. Sustainability and balance, prioritizing solutions that respected the planet and future generations. Empathy and compassion, using the lessons from the Azarans' trials to guide decision-making. The Alliance's first major breakthrough came when they discovered how to interface with the artifact. By channeling collective intention through synchronized meditations, global celebrations, and shared visions, they were able to unlock fragments of its potential. The artifact revealed technologies that could reverse environmental damage, cure diseases, and even extend human lifespan. But it also warned of the dangers of misuse, showing glimpses of dystopian futures if humanity failed to act responsibly. The final choice. As the Alliance worked tirelessly, the Azarans appeared one last time, their holographic presence dominating the sky. "You have shown us your potential," the Azarans said. "But potential alone is not enough. The future is yours to shape, but it will come at a cost. Choose wisely." The Azarans presented humanity with two options. Immediate advancement. The artifact would unlock all its knowledge and technology instantly, propelling humanity centuries ahead. But the sudden influx of power could lead to inequality, greed, and conflict. Earned evolution. The artifact would gradually reveal its secrets, allowing humanity to grow into its newfound capabilities over generations. This path would be slower but more sustainable and equitable. The world was divided. Many were tempted by the promise of immediate advancement, eager to solve pressing crises. But others, including Alina, urged caution. "We've learned so much from the Azarans," she said in a final address to the Alliance. "But the most important lesson is that true progress comes not from what we gain, but from how we grow. If we choose the easy path, we risk losing everything we've worked for. The harder path may test our patience, but it will also test our character." Humanity's decision. After weeks of intense debate, a global vote was held. For the first time in history, every person on Earth had a say in humanity's future. The result was overwhelming. 87% chose the path of earned evolution. The Azarans' hologram appeared one final time. "You have chosen wisely," it said. "Our purpose here is complete. The trials were not meant to judge you, but to prepare you. You are ready to take the next step, together." With that, the Azarans and their construct disappeared, leaving humanity with the artifact and the responsibility to shape its destiny. A new era. In the years that followed, the artifact became a symbol of unity and progress. Guided by the lessons of the trials, humanity embarked on a journey of collective growth. Nations worked together to combat climate change, eradicate poverty, and explore the stars. The memory networks continued to thrive, ensuring that the mistakes of the past were never forgotten. And the artifact, slowly revealing its secrets, became a source of inspiration and hope. Elena Morales, now considered one of the greatest leaders in human history, reflected on the journey during her final public speech. The Ezarans didn't just test our intelligence or technology. They tested our humanity. And though the road ahead will be long, I believe we've proven that we're ready to walk it together. As humanity looked up at the stars, they knew one thing for certain. Their story was just beginning.